Most people think retirement is a finish line, but the system doesn't want you crossing it too soon. The longer your money stays in your 401k, the more fees companies collect. Whether you're feeling burned out at 55 or just ready to enjoy life a little easier, the system isn't built for that. It's built to keep you working, not to set you free. And if you want to retire early, say at 55, you'll find out that you can't even touch your own money without paying a 10% penalty. Suddenly, your retirement plan doesn't feel so free. It feels like a locked box you can't open until someone else says you can. But here's the part no one ever tells you. There's an IRS-approved rule that lets you access your 401k penalty-free at 55 if you know how to use it. In this video, we'll break down exactly how the Rule of 55 works, what steps to follow, who qualifies, and the one move that could cost you $20,000 or more if you get it wrong. And most importantly, we'll explain why Fidelity hates this 401k move that lets you retire early. To make this simple and relatable, we're going to follow John as an example through this whole strategy. Someone like you, someone like me. John's in his early 30s, works a regular 9-to-5, makes around $60,000 to $65,000 a year, and has been steadily contributing to his 401k. Right now, he's sitting on about $60,000 in retirement savings. He's not trying to get rich, he just wants options. Maybe retire in his 50s, maybe travel, maybe work on his own terms. And if he keeps contributing the way he is, about 10% of his paycheck plus an employer match, by the time he turns 55, that balance could grow to around $600,000. So throughout this video, we'll use John's numbers, John's decisions, and John's retirement plan to show exactly how the Rule of 55 works and how to make sure you're not one of those people who discover it too late after you've already given up thousands in penalties. First, let's talk about the myth, the one almost everyone believes. Your 401k is sacred, powerful, but it's also restricted. The deal we're sold is simple. Contribute faithfully, let it grow, and when you hit 59 and a half, well, that's when you're free to use it however you want. But if you need that money earlier, too bad. Withdraw it at 55, even if you've been working for 30 years, and boom, you're hit with a 10% penalty on top of your regular income tax. That's $4,000 gone for every $40,000 you withdraw. It's not a slap on the wrist, it's a full-on financial penalty, and most people, including John, never question it. He always thought that's just how it worked. His plan was simple: keep contributing, retire at 55, and use his 401k to bridge the gap until Social Security kicks in. But when he did the math, that penalty would cost him $20,000 over 5 years. Why doesn't anyone talk about this? Because that penalty isn't just a tax rule, it's a psychological lock. It keeps people working longer, delaying withdrawals, and keeping their money under someone else's management. It keeps you in line. This is why so many people in their 50s, burned out, ready for change, even financially prepared, still feel like they can't leave their job. Not because they don't have enough saved, but because they're told the money isn't accessible. That's what the system is designed to do. For John, this realization wasn't just a nice to know, it changed how he thought about his next 20 years. Instead of blindly contributing to a fund he couldn't touch until 60, he began shaping a strategy that gave him real flexibility. The kind that lets you retire at 55 without giving up a chunk of your hard-earned savings. And he's not alone. More and more people are realizing that the system is built to delay their freedom, not accelerate it. And while the 401k is still a great tool, it's only great if you understand the rules that come with it. Because here's the truth, the penalty isn't always required, but the default advice assumes you'll never ask questions, never look deeper, never find the alternative. So you wait and the system keeps collecting. But once you learn the Rule of 55, you can stop playing their timeline and start building your own. Let's break down what the Rule of 55 actually is, what it allows you to do, and why understanding it could mean the difference between losing $20,000 or keeping it. And not to mention, not to be bound by the system to keep working. So what exactly is the Rule of 55? It's not a hack, it's not a workaround, it's a real IRS-sanctioned rule built into the tax code, and it allows you to access your 401k penalty-free starting the year you turn 55. Here's how it works. If you leave your job, whether you quit, retire, or are laid off, in or after the calendar year you turn 55, you're allowed to start withdrawing money from your current employer's 401k without paying the 10% early withdrawal penalty. You'll still owe ordinary income tax on the amount you withdraw, just like you would with any traditional retirement account, but that extra 10% fee, it's completely waived. And yes, this is real. It's buried in IRS Publication 575, and it's been there for years. So why doesn't anyone know about it? Because the Rule of 55 only applies under very specific conditions, meaning one missed detail can wipe it out completely. The biggest trap? Rolling over your 401k into an IRA. It's the standard advice most people hear the moment they leave their job, even from advisors who mean well. And the pitch sounds great. Roll it into an IRA for more options and control. But here's the catch. Once the money leaves your employer's 401k and lands in an IRA, the Rule of 55 is gone. IRAs simply don't qualify. And that's where John almost went wrong. His original plan at 55 was to roll his $600,000 401k into an IRA and then begin withdrawals. But had he done that, every $40,000 withdrawal between ages 55 and 59 and a half would have been hit with the standard 10% penalty, $4,000 each year. Over 5 years, that's $20,000 gone just for following default rollover advice. That single decision, one that feels smart on the surface, would have cost John 5 figures for no reason other than not knowing the Rule of 55 exists. This is why understanding the rules before you move your money is so critical. Another common misconception is that the rule applies to any 401k you've ever contributed to. Not correct. It only applies to the 401k tied to the employer you're leaving at or after age 55. Old 401ks from past jobs? Not eligible, unless you consolidate them into your current employer's plan before you leave. And it's not just 401ks. The Rule of 55 also applies to 403b plans, which are common in the nonprofit and education sectors. Here's the bottom line. If you're aiming for flexibility in your 50s, the Rule of 55 is one of the cleanest, most powerful tools available, but only if you understand how to qualify and avoid common traps. So understanding the Rule of 55 is step one, but knowing how to actually use it, that's where most people either win or lose. Here's exactly how John is structuring his plan to make sure he qualifies, avoids the traps, and gets access to his money at 55 without handing over a dime in penalties. The rule only works if you leave your job in or after the calendar year you turn 55. So if you're born in December, you could technically leave as early as January 1st of that year and still qualify. But if you walk out the door even one day too early, like December 31st the year before, you lose eligibility completely. John's already marked his calendar to make sure he doesn't slip up. The next pitfall he's preparing for is what happens the moment he leaves his job. Almost without fail, your provider will encourage you to roll your 401k into an IRA. It sounds like smart advice because you'll have more control, more flexibility, more options. But here's the reality. Once that money leaves the employer's 401k and goes into an IRA, the Rule of 55 disappears. IRAs do not qualify. That one move alone could cost John $20,000 in penalties over 5 years. Most people don't even realize they've made the mistake until it's too late. It has to stay in the employer's 401k. No exceptions. Now, not all 401k plans operate in the same way. Some only allow full lump sum withdrawals after separation. Others allow partial periodic distributions, which is what you want. Before John makes any moves, he'll request a copy of his plan's Summary Plan Description, the SPD, and look for these terms: separation from service, partial distribution, and early withdrawal options. He'll also contact the plan administrator and ask very specifically, does the plan allow penalty-free withdrawals after separation at age 55? Can I take partial withdrawals over time? Are distributions flexible, or do they require a full payout? If the answers don't line up with the Rule of 55, John may consider consolidating old 401ks into a plan that does, or switching employers strategically in the years leading up to 55. John's plan is to withdraw $40,000 per year between 55 and 59 and a half. He knows he'll owe income tax on that, so he's working with a financial advisor to structure withdrawals that keep him in a favorable tax bracket. He's also building up Roth and brokerage accounts to give himself additional flexibility, but the 401k will be his core income source for those early years. And finally, John isn't pretending he has all the answers. This is a high-stakes move. If you're off by even a day, roll over the wrong amount, or miss a planned detail, the 10% penalty kicks in, and it doesn't care if it was an honest mistake. John's already planning to get professional help in the years leading up to 55 just to make sure all the moving parts are aligned. The Rule of 55 itself isn't complicated, but the system hopes you'll treat it like it is so you don't use it. If you follow the steps, avoid the common traps, and prepare ahead of time, this rule can become the bridge between full-time work and full-time freedom. Next, we'll show you exactly why your provider, Fidelity included, would rather you never learn about this rule at all. To be blunt, financial companies don't make money when you withdraw your funds. They make money when you leave the funds in. Firms like Fidelity, Vanguard, and others charge management fees based on your account balance. The longer your money stays in your 401k, the more they collect, whether the market's up, down, or sideways. Let's do some math. If John has $600,000 in his 401k by the time he turns 55 and Fidelity charges just a 0.5% annual fee, that's $3,000 per year they earn just for holding his account. If John starts withdrawing $40,000 a year at 55, that balance starts to go down, and so does Fidelity's fee income. If he stays until 65 instead, that's 10 more years of compounding in fee collection, another $30,000 in revenue from one account. Now imagine that across millions of customers. That's why your provider doesn't exactly promote the Rule of 55. It's not in their best interest. They're not legally required to explain it to you either. Most plan documents mention it in passing, buried in fine print or buried behind corporate jargon. Even advisors working for these companies might avoid bringing it up, not because they're evil, but because the system is set up to keep assets under management as long as possible. And this isn't just about fees. The whole retirement narrative, work until 65, start drawing from your 401k, then file for Social Security, is designed around institutional convenience. It's tidy, predictable, profitable. But the Rule of 55 breaks that script. It lets you write your own. And when people start discovering they can access their retirement money earlier, plan smarter, and design their own timeline, it's a threat to the system's rhythm. John realized that by using the Rule of 55, he could keep $20,000 that would have otherwise gone to penalties and potentially deny his provider $30,000 in fees over the next decade. No wonder no one's shouting about this from the rooftops. And here's what makes it even more frustrating. They don't need your permission to keep this information from you. There's no rule saying they have to inform you of every penalty-free withdrawal option. They just have to follow the law, not educate you on every way to use it to your advantage. So the burden falls on you, John, and all of us. That's why people like John who take the time to research and plan ahead can build a retirement timeline that's actually designed around their goals, not someone else's business model. Look, this isn't about conspiracy theories and information withheld. It's about incentives. Fidelity isn't evil, but they're not necessarily your teammates either. Their job is to grow assets under management. Your job is to build a life you don't need to escape from, and sometimes those goals don't align. That's exactly why the Rule of 55 is powerful, because it puts the timeline back in your hands. Rule of 55 is clearly powerful, but how does it stack up against the other early retirement strategies you've probably heard about? Take the Roth IRA, for example. It's one of the most flexible retirement tools out there. The IRS allows you to withdraw your contributions, the money you actually put in, at any time for any reason, tax and penalty free. That's a huge advantage if you've been funding it consistently. The catch is that the earnings in the account still come with restrictions, and for most people, the Roth balance is relatively small compared to their 401k. For John, who's been focused mainly on his workplace plan, his Roth IRA might only grow to about $30,000 by the time he's 55. That's a nice backup for emergencies, but nowhere near enough to cover 5 years of living expenses. In other words, it's useful, but not a complete solution. Another option is the IRS rule known as 72T, or SEPP, Substantially Equal Periodic Payments. This allows penalty-free withdrawals from your IRA or 401k before age 59 and a half, but it comes with very strict rules. Once you start, you must take the same fixed payments every year for at least 5 years or until you reach 59 and a half, whichever is longer. That rigidity can be dangerous. Let's say John signs up for SEPP at 55 and commits to withdrawing $25,000 per year, but the market crashes or his needs change. Too bad, he's locked in. If he stops or adjusts, the IRS will retroactively penalize him for every withdrawal he's already taken. On paper, it works, but in practice, it is a tax trap waiting to be sprung. Then there's the Roth conversion ladder, a favorite among hardcore FIRE followers. The idea is to convert pieces of a transitional IRA into a Roth each year, wait 5 years, then withdraw the converted amounts penalty-free. It's smart, but complex. It takes planning, annual execution, and delayed access. John likes this idea and might use it in the background, but it's not something you can rely on for cash flow right away when you leave your job at 55. And this is where the rule of 55 stands out. It gives John access to his largest retirement account, the 401k, starting the moment he separates from service at 55. No 5-year wait, no rigid payment rules, no retroactive penalties. He can take $40,000 one year and nothing the next. That flexibility is what makes the rule of 55 so valuable. It's not about chasing loopholes or complicated strategies. It's about using a simple, existing rule to access the money you've already earned on your own terms. So let's zoom out. What does all of this actually mean for someone like John? Well, let's look at 2 versions of his retirement. Scenario 1, the default path. Let's say John keeps contributing to his 401k without knowing the rule of 55 exists. At 55, he's burnt out and ready to leave his job, but he's told he'll get hit with a 10% early withdrawal penalty if he touches his 401k. So he doesn't. He stays in the job another 4 or 5 years, not because he wants to, but because he has to. If he tries to quit early, every $40,000 withdrawal would cost him an extra $4,000. Over 5 years, that's $20,000 burned in penalties. That's a new car, a year of rent, and also a chunk of time he'll never get back. Scenario 2, the optimized plan using Rule of 55. John learns the rule, plans ahead, and hits 55 with $600,000 in his 401k. He leaves his job in the right calendar year, keeps the funds in his employer plan, and withdraws $40,000 a year penalty-free. With this, he saves $20,000 in penalties. He potentially avoids $30,000 in management fees, and most importantly, he buys back 5 years of his life. That's the value of understanding the rules. The system isn't designed to hand you freedom, but it is designed with hidden doors. And the rule of 55 is one of the most powerful ones. Want to know how to turn $20 a week into $7,000 in monthly dividend income? Click the video on the screen.